Hey, badass black girls, and they making big moves. Hey, badass black girls, nothing that you can't do. They are the future, I'm trying to tell ya. They want the best, no time to settle. They got the strength to handle the pressure. These are the queens, nobody better. Yeah, changing the narrative, that is imperative. They about to rock this. Tell the women that you got this. Got no time for people who are toxic. It's all love, good vibes. You know I got your back, girl. Talking issues that matter. This is badass black girl, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Badass Black Girl. Today, I have another exciting guest with me. Her name is Dr. Francesca Fajinmi, and she's the host of the wonderful podcast, Your Black Matters. I'm going to let her introduce herself um, in detail so we can get to know her a little bit better. Hi, Dr. Francesca.
Oh, thank you, MJ. It's really nice to see you again. Thank you for bringing me on to this, your wonderful podcast and show, and your lovely guest. I'm really excited to be here. What can I tell you about myself? I've been in corporate America for over 30 years. I was born in England. I went to Nigeria when I was about 5 years old with my parents. My parents are Nigerian. I spent about 10 years in Nigeria. I completed my elementary school and high school over there. And then I went back to England to do my first degree. And then about 30, it's over 30 years now, almost 35 years ago, we relocated to the United States. So I have three nationalities. I'm Nigerian, I'm British, and I'm American. So it just depends on where I'm going. I could really take advantage of those nationalities. So my background in general, my background is finance, corporate finance, to be very specific. I work with multinational like Nestle, Siemens, companies like that for many, many years. But now I have my consulting firm, MFE Corp. And what I do is I actually work and partner with multinationals or small and medium enterprises that maybe they want to go through a growth projection and they're looking for help or advisor to guide them through how to go through the process and to sustain that growth. So if you have a business, you've kind of been static for about a couple of years, you want to move to the next level, you're not too sure the best way to go through it, I usually help in that regard. My bachelor is in accounting, I have a master's in business, and my doctorate is also in business with a particular emphasis on international business. Last year was when I started the podcast that MJ you were referring to. And my motivation was actually George Floyd, the death of George Floyd, and just basically just hearing it over and over. I could not watch it, but I heard it over. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this can be a brother, it can be my husband, it can be my son, it can be anyone, right, that is related to me. And even though I am not African American, I was able to connect the dots that time about the experiences of African American. And it really resonated with me that when a Black person is walking down the street, nobody knows who you are, you're just Black. They can't tell whether you are British Black, Nigerian Black, African American Black, Haitian Black, it doesn't matter, you're just Black. And whatever reaction that you get for being Black is what you are going to experience. That dawned on me for the first time last year. And as I continue to watch the protests and the global protests. I mean, it was worldwide. I'm not even sure there's any country that did not protest about Black lives. As I continued to watch, I was asking myself, so what is the next step? I mean, you go through this protest, you express your anger and frustration, but what happens next? That was when the podcast was birthed, right? To look at how can we reimagine our relationship with Black people, reimagining Black relations. And when you think about your Black matters, everybody has a Black matter, whether you are Black, white, brown, it doesn't matter. We have a Black matter. If you believe truly in the evolution of human, and if you listen to many of the anthropologists, 95% plus believe that life started from Africa, which basically means that, you know, somehow we used to be all very dark. And as people continue to migrate, they all started to migrate towards cooler regions, which now makes the pigment, their skin coloration, to begin to change and become lighter. So with that being said, you'll still have a Black matter if you believe that. Now, if you don't believe that, then the next set is going to be that, okay, if you're a Christian, we all came from Adam and Eve. Whatever his color is, we all came from, I mean, whatever their color are, we all came from them. But you have to remember, you could get so many colors from Black. How many can you get from white? White. That's it. That's all the color you can get from white. So if you're a Christian, white, Black, or brown, you still have a Black matter in you somewhere. And if you don't believe in any of those things at all, you have a Black neighbor, you have a Black employee, you have a Black boss, you have a Black customer, you have a Black supplier. We all have a Black matter. So I see your Black matters being very critical to all humanity to get us to the next level. We need to relate as one human. That is the goal. So that's kind of where I am right now with the podcast. And I've had fantastic guests like MJ. MJ is going to be featured next week. I'm really excited because I interviewed MJ. It is phenomenal. I'm just excited to know how to get some of the feedback from our listeners. So anyway, I don't know if I gave you enough background about myself, or there's something else you would like me to focus on.
I have so many questions. My first question, you said something very important. You talked about your background in accounting and business, which is amazing for women because we know the stigma, oh, girls can do numbers, right? So I'm curious about how you got to become so confident in your skills that now you're working in that field, right? So tell us a little bit about young Francesca and what it piqued your interest in terms of mathematics, accounting, and how you came to be who you are today.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in high school, and I won't say most African parents, but many Nigerian parents, specifically from my tribe is Yoruba. Many of those parents, your children either needs to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or an engineer. I don't think there's anything else you can become. That's it. Those are the options you have. So it's not even a question for you to figure out what you want to do. It's more like, oh, so what are you going to do? You already know it's going to be one of those. So I always wanted to be a medical doctor. So that was the goal. I was moving in that direction. But I was admitted for vet medicine. And I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be taking care of dogs and cats and stuff. I want to take care of human. During those times, there was no real dignity in taking care of animals, being animal doctor, but there was more dignity in human doctors. So when our parents are thinking of doctors, they're not thinking about vets, they're thinking about human doctors. So that was my goal. So they admitted me for vet medicine, and I thought, oh, that's not going to work. So anyway, so that time I was debating, should I continue, try to change my major, just start and change my major, or what should I do? That time I was admitted at the University of South Bank in England for chemical engineering. So I'm like, okay, maybe let's try that one. I'll drop vet medicine, we do chemical engineering. So I started with chemical engineering. It's kind of, it was okay. So during one of my summer breaks, I was working at Boots the Chemist. Boots the Chemist in England is almost like your Walgreens, Rite Aid over here, but pretty big. It's kind of like your normal day-to-day pharmacy, beauty and what have you. So I had a boss that time, and the boss will call me. So I was working on the counter, and then she will call me in and just say, come, let me give you some stuff to do. So I will go into her office, then she will give me stuff to do, with accounting and bookkeeping and little things like that. And it's kind of like, oh, I actually like this. So I was really enjoying it. That was just during the summer. Of course, I went back to school and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate this. I hate chemical engineering. They're talking about, corrosive materials and, things like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do something different. So that was how I switched. And I decided to move into accounting. I loved it. I love the world of business. I love balancing the books. I love, so the beauty of accounting to me is not the bean counting, the label that they normally give accountants, is really the operational aspect that, the pluses and the minuses is what makes the business, right? If you are able to present something to an organization that says that you build a budget, right? You only have 100,000, you're able to build a budget. If you're able to stay within your budget, you're doing okay. If you're able to sell more, oh my gosh, that is awesome. So the operational aspect, which is more like, what can we do to improve our bottom line? How can we minimize waste? How can we reduce, rework, things like that that just consume a lot of what we do? How can we do that? I was so fascinated about the power that you have, just with the numbers. So, my accounting is more like I sit with you and I say, oh my gosh, MJ, you're doing great. Your business is doing great. What's your plan in the next 3 years, right? What are you planning to do? How are we going to double your business in the next 3 years? Most business owners, they don't have the clear path, right? It's just your day-to-day activity. But when we start pushing you to the next level and saying, how are you going to double your business or sustain what you have? Because competition is out there, somebody else is watching you, then there's a lot of motivation. So the way I present accounting is not the bean counting that people hate. It's very practical. It's practical that everyone can identify with it. It doesn't matter whether you studied accounting, whether you love accounting, whether you hate numbers, it doesn't matter. Everybody knows if you have money in your pocket, that's power. If you don't have money in your pocket, I'm sorry, you're a loser, right? So being able to make it so practical that people can relate to it, I think that's kind of what sets me apart from your normal accounting stuff. And, taking it to the doctorate level gives you a lot of credibility as a woman. Okay, it gives a lot of credibility because when I walk into a room, sometimes when they see my name, Dr. Francesca Fajinmi, many people, first of all, they'll think Fajinmi sounds Japanese. Then my first name, Francesca, they're like, okay, maybe it's a guy, how could you have a woman that's going to be in this role? And then I walk in, they're going to see a woman, then they see a Black woman, MJ. They see a Black woman on top of it. And then I'm talking to them about, you're going to take your business to the next level. Totally unbelievable. But you know what? I'm so just free and practical and just jovial. And I just disregard all those looks and, gestures that you walk into. I disregard them. And before you know it, they kind of let their guards down and they're able to embrace me that, oh my gosh, she knows what she's talking about. So, that's really what my background is and how I actually work through, in that field, how I operate in that field, because you're right, it's absolutely a male dominated field. To be successful in it, it's more, male dominated.
I'm curious about some of the lessons that you've learned about life throughout your journey. So I see some of the skills that you have. Some of them might be natural, some of them you might have acquired. For instance, you're very curious. You told us about trying out different things and kind of seeing if they were a good fit, and you're definitely determined and motivated, where you wanted to make a name for yourself and kind of prove to the world that you're a Black woman doing things that maybe traditionally Black women don't do. And just kind of I like that about what you said, the fact that, oh, you don't expect a Black woman, well, here she comes, and she's
Mhm.
very accomplished. So what are other skills you think that every Black woman could benefit from, and
Mhm.
what are some of the skills that you had to acquire, and some of the lessons that you've learned that you wish maybe you had known when you were just studying, and, but now that you're seasoned in your field, you realize that they were instrumental.
Mhm. Yeah, loaded questions, MJ, totally loaded. The very first thing is that nobody is going to affirm you if you don't affirm yourself. Okay, absolutely nobody. And oftentimes, Black women fall prey to that because we look for affirmation before we think we can move forward or we can do something different or before we can actually thrive. But the bottom line is, if you don't establish yourself, please don't rely on anybody else to do that for you, whether you're thinking holistically in the society or you even thinking in the Black community. You will notice that Black women tend to be fighters, right? They tend to be a fighter, successful one. They continue to push. They never take no for an answer. They continue to encourage themselves and continue to push forward to get to their goal. So what I'm trying to say is that you absolutely need to push yourself. You need to affirm yourself. You need to ensure that you are not relying on somebody to amplify who you are. You need to be able to stand confident about who you are. That's number one. Number two, to have that confidence, you need expertise. You can't just be talking and don't have any depth to it. So you need to develop yourself, right? You absolutely need to make sure that whatever subject you want to talk about, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's accounting, as I said, whether it's art, whether it's music, whether it's cookery, whatever it is, you need to develop mastery. You know what? It takes us double, triple, quadruple the effort of normal people for Black women to get to that level. You have to go above and beyond what normal people do for you to get there. But don't ever look at it and say that, oh my gosh, why is life always like this? Why do I have to, do this much? If you continue in that mode, then you will stay in that mode. Don't look back and say, oh, this person is depriving me, or I can't do it because of that person. Just continue to push. Just continue to push. You have to motivate yourself. You have to push yourself. You have to look for people that can help you to develop yourself, whether he's going to school, whether he's learning a new skill, whether he's taking training courses or certificate courses, or having a mentor that's going to guide you to be able to do that. And look, pay for it. I'm actually paying for something right now because I wanted to develop that skill set, so it's worth it for me. I think there's value in it. And whatever it's going to take for me to get it, that's what I'm going to do. Now, one other thing that I think is absolutely important, when I was much younger, when I started in my career over 30 years ago, so we'll be in the office and, meeting is going on and, somebody's standing up and presenting something and, I'm just shaking my head, and they'll say, oh, anybody has any thoughts? I can't speak. I'm afraid. Oh my gosh, how am I going to sound? My accent, my this. Oh, I'm going to be saying something stupid that means nothing to anybody. They're going to make fun of me. I just keep quiet. I freeze while somebody will jump up and say something. And you know what? I am the expert at doing this. I just do this. It doesn't even matter whether I understand what you're saying, but I'm just going like this. Just like I want them to feel like I'm in agreement. I understand. But you know what? When you don't speak, you are irrelevant. You are irrelevant. Please forget your accent. Just make sure you speak clearly. Okay, that's number one. Number two, listen and engage. Engagement is also asking questions if you don't get it. hey, you know what? I heard you say something. I haven't heard that before. Can you tell me what it is? MJ, let me tell you something. Sometimes when I ask questions, I just ask around and say, by the way, does anybody know what that means? Guess what? Nobody knows. And nobody's asking. Everybody's sitting down as if they all understood what's going on. Everybody's looking and say, oh yeah, you know, we kind of like the smart people in here. We get it. And I say, oh, what does that even mean? No clue, nobody. And all the people you would think, oh, they know it all. They, you know, they talk, they chime in, they do all these things. I'm sure they know it. You're the only one that doesn't know it. Guess what? They do not know it either. So what am I trying to say? Please, please speak up. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you less qualified. In fact, it makes you so courageous. It makes you a great communicator. It makes you somebody that they can look up to. I mean, I've been in meetings that they will say, Francesca, you haven't said anything. What's going on? You know, and the reason I do that sometimes is because I want others to say something. I don't always want to be the one that's, you know, poking and just asking questions so that we can begin to drive conversation. So what am I trying to say? It doesn't matter. If you are in that room, you are relevant. If you are in that room, you are important. Your voice matters, your thoughts matters, you matter. So please don't be Francesca like this, you know, just be shaking your head and pretending as if, oh yeah, what you say makes sense. Oh my gosh, MJ, that was wonderful, that was powerful. And I have no clue what you're talking about. And they ask me a question, I freeze. I can't talk. You need to develop yourself. Let me tell you, besides death, okay, the greatest fear is public speaking. But you know what? Nobody dies. I'm talking to you, MJ. I'm not gonna die. If I choose to talk, I won't die. If I choose not to talk, I will not die. I'll only die when it's time for me to die. So why do you need to be afraid? Please, please, please. Let's be bold and speak up, especially when you are in that room. You just don't know who's in the room and you don't know what they are looking for. So please be bold and speak up. And the last one I'm gonna say, MJ, is this. Don't be afraid to be yourself, okay? Don't be afraid to be yourself. A lot of Black people have lived a life that is not authentically theirs for so long, you know, and this person that is speaking is a classic example, okay? I only started doing braids last year, MJ, last year. All my adult life, my hair is always pressed and proper, okay? Because number one, it did not even occur to me that you can do braids and be confident and be in corporate and do what you need to do. To me, when I see people at the top, they're Black women, the few Black women that I see at the top, the hair is always straight, right? Pressed and mainstream, okay? Look, now, when I got the realization that you are living somebody else's life last year, I'm like, wait, it's so true. That is absolutely true. My hair is not naturally straight, it's kinky. So why do I need to start being somebody else? I need to make that move. Because if I'm saying that you need to reimagine Black relations, if I'm saying that your Black matters, I need to live it. I need to walk the talk. And I need to pivot. I need to live that myself. So I'm like, I'm done. If I don't want to braid my hair, I'm gonna comb it out. I'm gonna, you know, leave my afro and just enjoy my natural hair. I'm telling you, MJ, since I started this in the summer of last year, I've been having fun. So be your authentic self. Don't let it take over 50 years like me to realize who you are. Be yourself, okay? Don't ever think that because your hair is straight, you're gonna get promoted. And don't ever think that because your hair is woven or braided, you're not going to get promoted. You stand for yourself, speak. When you are in that room, when you're having those meetings, whether your hair is braided, whether it's kinky, it doesn't matter. They will love you when they get to know your content, Okay, so I don't know if that answers your question, but those were the things that I would say is practical for me, through my journey.
This is such a wonderful message. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about the fact that you've lived on different continents. So you've been um, to Africa, Europe, America, not just as a tourist, but you actually lived in all of those places.
Mhm.
What do you think are the difficulties that Black women are facing across the board? Because
Yeah.
you talk, for instance, about how we're often quiet. We don't understand. We won't say anything. We won't ask questions. And of course, in addition to the way we are raised, there
Mhm.
are some societal factors, the way
Mhm.
we want to be perceived versus the way we might picture ourselves, right?
Mhm.
What has your experience shown you in terms of factors that we need to become aware of, so that when we are in a situation where we're not promoting ourselves, we're not um, allowing ourselves to be as open as we want to be, we can think back and say, you know what, it's because of this and that, and have the ammunition to
Mhm.
combat our tendency to be quiet.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, it's amazing because across the globe, I would say, I don't think there's any other race that is below the base other than Black people, okay, across the globe. So if you look at the pyramid, okay, and you say from the base and you move up, at the base of the pyramid, the Black people. Now, if you have layers at the base, obviously, the men stays above and then the women goes below. Now, when you think about acceptance, especially for women, one of the things I've noticed, and it really doesn't matter where you are, whether you are in the continent, on the continent of Africa, or you are on the Western hemisphere, it really doesn't matter. There is tendency to look at women as just sexual objects only. You see them as, oh my gosh, she's pretty, or oh, she'll be great for this type of role. She'll be great for this type of function. She'll be great in this type of environment, right? They see women that way. And it doesn't matter whether you're Black, brown, or white. That's exactly how it is across the board in general. And even in Africa, as I speak today, where the racial spread over there is they're predominantly Black. You still see, the way Black women are being, considered, beneath when you look at it in the society. That is a fact. I don't want us to assume that that is just something that is going on one side of the world. It is a fact. Now, how do women step up? Be an institution. Be an institution. NJ, this is critical. To become an institution, it basically means you, you dictate, you dictate the shot. You call the shot. How do you call the shot? Instead of you going to apply, oh, I want to apply for this job. I'm looking for an accountant. I'm looking, to become this. I'm applying for that. And they continue to say, oh my gosh, you should be, what are you doing in accounting? You should be a nurse. What are you doing trying to be a medical doctor? Oh my gosh, you'll be great if you're a nurse. How do you become an institution? You call the shot by being the employer. You become the employer, whether it is small scale, whether it's medium size, whether it's large scale, aim to be the employer. When you are the institution, when you are the bank, when you are the employer, tell me how many of your employees will tell you that, oh my gosh, she's a woman. Oh my, how is that going to work? You pay their salary. You pay their salary. So when I say be an institution, it doesn't have to be you want to become the CEO of Nestle or Siemens or anything like that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you are in a position to go for it, go for it. But what I'm also saying is that look for the opportunity where you can actually start something, right? The opportunities are endless. I have so much on my plate. I don't even know how many things I can handle at the same time. And when I'm talking about opportunities being endless, I'm saying that there's so many opportunity to start your own business that you can thrive in doing it, especially when you're thinking about the global environment, the global world. The internet has made it more of a one world, right? You could be here and be doing business in Haiti for all you know, right? You don't need to go over there. You could do business in Japan. You do not need to go over there. For all you know, even the last year of pandemic even brought it alive that seriously, you can do anything from anywhere in the world. So what am I saying? As a woman, aim to be the institution. Any institution, just make sure you are leading the charge. When you're leading the charge, you don't need to prove anything to anybody. Okay, you don't need to prove anything. You are calling the shots and you're doing really well. And that's all that matters. People that normally will look down on you, they will be reaching out to you and say, hey, by the way, MJ, can you help us out? We're struggling in this area. There you go, right? So you break that taboo. The glass ceiling is already shattered. We just need to walk right in. We don't need to wait for anybody to open the door for us, right? The opportunities are endless. Let's just go for it. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to go back to something you said before. You talked about the importance of educating oneself. We were talking about people who are silent, and you mentioned that, you know, if you are educated, you will speak because you know the topic, right? So I wanted to ask a little bit about how you continue to nourish your intellect. If you ask me, I'll say, well, I listen to a lot of podcasts, I read a lot of books, and I'm always happy to give book recommendations. And one of the podcasts that I listen to, obviously, is Your Black Matters, because it touches on so many important questions. But what do you do yourself, Dr. Francesca, to continue growing as an intellectual person?
Mhm. Yeah, reading is absolutely critical. MJ, the Black traditions, usually from way, 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 way back, it was oral tradition, right? You sit at your mama's feet, and then they nurture you. They teach you how to cook. You add little salt, you add pepper, you put butter, you do all these things. That was the the tradition of Black people from way back. So usually, and I'm sure you've heard it before, they said, if you want to hide something from a Black person, put it inside a book. They would never open it, which is really sad, isn't it? It's really, really sad.
It is.
Um, I would tell you, nothing can replace reading. I don't care how much oral tradition is passed down. You have to remember that many of these things, by the time you're passing them down, it's losing its value, it's losing the content, it's losing the originality. When I share that information with you, I might leave something out because I forgot, or maybe I'm misinterpreting something based on my experience, so it may not be the real original oral tradition that was there from way back. So it is absolutely critical for us to read. What do we read? Anything that is going to nourish your soul, anything that's going to empower you, anything that is going to develop you. I don't want you to feel powerless. You feel powerless when you don't develop yourself. I used to have teams of people, global teams that I manage. And some of them will be asking me, oh my gosh, Francesca, do you know whether they're going to lay us off? Do you know whether this thing is going on? And I'm like, okay, so if they're going to lay you off, what's your plan? What are you going to do? Let's just say that I'm giving you the letter today that, hey, by the way, corporate say, you know, we need to get rid of you. What are you going to do? And many of them will be looking at me because they had no idea what they would do. So they spend a lot of energy thinking about, oh my gosh, maybe I'm going to get laid off, maybe I'm going to lose my job and all that. But they're not spending the energy on figuring out, if it happens, what am I going to do next? What's the next step? So what I'm saying is that you focus on what is controllable, what you can control. What you can control are your skill sets. What you can control is the knowledge acquisition that you're providing for yourself. You acquire more knowledge, that you can control those things. But the external factors that you cannot control, even if you are the absolute best at what you do, if the budget does not support having you, you may be the best, but they can't afford you. They're going to have to let you go. They will say, we're so sorry, we have to let you go, even though, you know, this, and that, but that's just the reality of it. But then what are you going to do? So what I'm saying then is you need to make sure you focus on expanding your horizon, developing yourself. Make sure you look at what matters to you. Reading is number one. And the number two is learn something new. Please don't just stay in one path. You will remember, and this is just normal business case study. I don't know if you know, you remember Kodak, MJ. Way back, there was this company called Kodak. They have the camera. They do this wonderful camera, Polaroid and all that. And when they started to introduce different ways of capturing still photos and what have you, Kodak said, oh, no way. You know, they will always need Polaroid. They will always need Kodak. Guess what? Kodak tanked. And then your phone becomes your Kodak. So what am I saying? Even if your expertise is Polaroid, like Kodak, even if that's your expertise, you better begin to expand. Because if your expertise becomes defunct, if it becomes obsolete, if the market changes all of a sudden and they don't need typewriters anymore, they don't need the massive desktop anymore, what are you going to do? So you need to start thinking about sustainability. Businesses think about that. Well, great businesses think about sustainability into the future, but yourself, you know, my skill set going to be relevant in the next 2 years? Is it going to be relevant in the next 5 years? If it's no longer relevant, then what happens to me? So that's why you need to expand your horizon and begin to learn and acquire new skill sets. Make sure you know the trend, right? Make sure you understand the trend. Where are things going? Where are the opportunities? So that you are there. When the opportunity comes, you can jump into it and be able to play the game. Okay?
Wow, that's so vital. Everything you said about just keeping up with the world, really. That's one way to summarize it. Um, I was curious about how do you feel the conversation has changed from the time you started the podcast to now? We're in 2021 and you've talked to so many interesting people. Actually, I'm gonna have two layers to this question. I'm gonna ask you, what is the best conversation you've ever had on Your Black Matters? It doesn't have to be because the guest was more important than another one. It might just be a topic that was very important to your heart, I guess. And also how the podcast has changed from beginning to now, whether there's been some kind of evolution in the way we think about our mattering.
Oh my gosh, MJ. The best one besides yours? Was that the question?
Yes.
Besides yours, right? Okay. So the best one besides yours, I have to, I'm debating two. It has to be the two. There's my podcast number 9, which is the memoirs of a Black woman executive. this resonated so much with me because this was an executive. She was working for a Fortune 500 company at maybe top three in the organization. And she spoke about her experience as an executive. She grew up in a white environment. She spoke like a white person. She acts like a white person. She did everything like a white person, but she is Black. So she said, she's Black on the outside, but she's white in the inside. She thinks like a white person. She reasons like a white person. She does everything as a white person. And she realized that as much as she felt that she was everything white, she still was not. She was not. And it was so deep, it was so touching, the way she developed the subject from where she was and where she is at that moment. And that meant so much to me because I think many Black women and Black people in corporate will probably align with what she was saying at some point in their career or the other. Because, when you go into meetings, you want to make sure you're speaking the way they speak. You don't want to just be saying, y'all going to do this, y'all going to do that. You don't want to be speaking like that. You want to just, somebody told me you speak proper English, right? And I'm like, who speaks proper English, right? I mean, in England, yes, they're English, but Americans are Americans. So what is proper English? But, what I'm bringing up is that lady lived as somebody else forever until she realized that it does not matter what I do. It does not matter how much I try. It does not matter how I sound. I am still a Black woman. So she said it took her forever to figure it out and to be able to move to the next phase of her life. The second one that, when I was having this is number 4, podcast number 4. And I know it's just number 4 and number 9, those two. And it was way, way, way back because I'm in 40 something now, right now, that is already released. And I still have so many that is yet to be released. But the bottom line is that those two kind of stuck with me. Podcast number 4 was with a man called Dr. George Fraser. He was a fantastic speaker, public speaker. In fact, he got some nomination from President Barack Obama. He wines and dines with, all the who is who in the Black community in the United States. Dr. Fraser, during our interview, shared his background with me. He grew up molested in a foster home, no education. Even his doctorate wasn't from a college, it was honorary, but he can articulate his thoughts. He can speak in any setting. I think he had multiple doctorate degrees. Dr. Fraser reads, I don't know how many books he reads in a year, but if he tells me, if I think I remember correctly, I'm sure it's in the hundreds, okay, that Dr. Fraser reads every year. And Dr. Fraser said, if you're sitting there and you are waiting for somebody to fix the issue relating to Black people, come back 400 years later, you're gonna be in a worse situation than you are right now. If you don't get up and begin to fix things yourself. White people only care about white people. Dr. Fraser's words, not mine, MJ. White people should only care about white people. Why on earth do you want white people to care about Black people? Tell me why you want white people to care about Black people. And MJ, you need to listen to this. You know, I feel chills, even just the sound, just the way he says it, and he pronounces and emphasizes key words. He just sent chills through my body that, oh my goodness, we need to begin to do something for ourselves. We can't just keep saying that, oh, they need to do this, they need to do that, they need to give us the opportunity, they need to move the ladder, they need to open the door, they need to, they. Why should they do that? It's going to be to their detriment. You know, those two stuck to me, and so many others. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Um, Now, the progress that we've made is actually phenomenal because, um, the issue is also, the conversation is also solving problems outside the United States, MJ. It's solving problem outside the United States. Um, we had a global conference last year, MJ. Um, Participants from all the continents, I mean, many, many countries participated. And I was shocked at this global conference because I was thinking it's going to be more of the Western Hemisphere issue, but it is unbelievable. Let me give you one example of what blew my mind. So during the conference, after the speakers, we opened it up for questions. And a lady, a Black lady from South Africa, said that, okay, so you want me to be my authentic self, to be Black and be proud of it. But the Blacker I am, the less opportunity I have. My shade of Black dictates my opportunity in terms of job, determines whether I'll get a boyfriend, determine whether I'll find a husband, determine whether I can vote one way or the other. And you're telling me I should be my authentic Black and not try to bleach my skin? You're telling me I should do that? That broke my heart. We are talking about Africa, my sister. We're not talking about, oh my gosh, white people did these things to us. They picked us up on the street. They did that. We are talking about in Africa. Wow. There is another lady in Nigeria, the same story. Same story. The Blacker you are, the less opportunity, even in a Black community, which hurts. It hurts. But the conversation is bringing solution, even in that regard as well. So it's a great motivation for me when I'm hearing many of these things and the feedback.
Dr. Francesca, what are your last words? I mean, you've shared so many pieces, pearls of wisdom with us. But I feel that there is so much more because you have so much experience and you have that analytical stance for everything. You really look at how things are and how they could be, and it's so amazing to listening to you speak and um listening to the exchanges that you have with your guests. Would you share one last pair of wisdom that we can take home with us today?
Oh my gosh. First, I just want to say thank you, MJ, for this opportunity, to be here and to be your guest. It's really wonderful to reflect on many of these things. If I have to leave anything with us today, it's going to be, what are you planning to do? What are you planning to do? Don't look at what is Francesca saying, what is MJ saying. Think about what you plan to do, especially when you know that your destiny is not in anybody's hand, it's in your hand. What do you want to do about it? That's where I want to leave it.
Very powerful. Dr. Francesca, thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us. I'm looking forward to the next episode on your Black Matters and all the other episodes that you're going to have for us soon. What you're doing is instrumental in helping us understand the issues within the Black community and how we can take action to find solutions to those issues. Very important stuff being discussed on your podcast. And I want again to express how much I admire your work. I how appreciative I am that you came today to talk to us about everything that you do.
Thank you, MJ. Thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a phenomenal job in your space, MJ, amplifying the voices of others. It's just powerful, MJ. You're a great role model. I just want to thank you for what you do. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And I hope you'll come again. So I'll say until next time.
Thank you. Au revoir.